process continues. Now, we've worked on ratios, we've done unit rates, we've done ratios and word problems, and now we're making our way on into writing proportions. So we're going to talk about what a proportion is actually in a couple of videos later. Right now we're just talking about equivalent fractions, and we need to understand what equivalent fractions are and how to determine if fractions are equivalent before we get into proportions. So it kind of seems like we're jumping around to different things, but they all build together in the end, so just bear with me here. Now, if you're one of my students and you're following along, we're on this page 111 here, writing proportions, and we're actually, I'm not going to get into too much of the understanding of proportions, but I'm going to talk to you more about how to determine if fractions are equal. And looking at equivalent fractions is actually a very common test question for these adult education tests. So, and I want to go through and show you several different ways. Like if you ever get in a situation on a standardized test or something and you have to find out which fraction is bigger or smaller, or put fractions in order from least to greatest, that's a common thing. Or just determine if they're equivalent. Let's look at all the different ways you can do that. Now, on your book it's talking about cross products, but I want to show you 3 different ways to determine if they're equal. Now, I almost always just stick with changing the fraction to a decimal. Because if you're taking the HiSET math, you're going to have a calculator, and it's just so easy to do. Okay? And then you can compare decimals, which is super easy, and you don't have to worry about it. So we can change fraction to decimals. So what we can do here, if you'll get your calculator out. Now I'm going to try to turn the slide on, and hopefully it won't blind you. Now, if we have 2/3 and we want to change this to a decimal, 2 divided by 3. We enter it as a division problem. I'm going to show you all the different ways, okay? And you leave it in there and you don't clear it. I'm not even going to write anything down. Then you take the next fraction, because we want to see if that's equal, and we say 8 divided by 12. Hit enter, and you notice that the 2 numbers are the same, so they are equivalent. So the question in the book is, are these equivalent? So yes, these are equivalent. All right, but I want to show you all the ways you can change these to decimals. So one of the easiest ways is to take your top number, which is of course the numerator, and divide it by the bottom number. And that's the denominator, okay? Now, but let's just explore your calculator, because it does lots of cool things. So let's go ahead and put 2 in D3, so that's as a fraction. And I'm going to scoot my cursor over just so it's a whole fraction. Now hit this is called what I call the double arrow button. I don't know if that's the actual name for it. So hit that. You see it there on your screen. Hit enter. And doop, change to a decimal. So it's another way to change to a decimal. And so you can do that with your double arrow button. And the third way you can change it to a decimal, let's go enter it again, 2 fraction thirds. Okay, so I'll put it in as a fraction, move the cursor over. And then do you see this F to D in green right here above the table button? Remember, if it's in green, you have to hit the second, then the table button, and you see F to D. Guess what that stands for? Fraction to decimal. And because the arrow goes either way, you can it'll change a decimal to a fraction as well. So there you go. You got it as a decimal. And so you've got that, I call it the F to D button over there, and it's in green, so you have to hit the second key. Now I just want you to play around with this double arrow that's above your equal sign, and you'll see it just changed it back to a fraction, changed it back to a decimal. It's a cool little button. It does lots of things. It's not only fractions to decimals. All right, so you can change it fractions to decimals and see if they're the same, which we just did. We could put both fractions in and reduce and see if they reduce to the same thing. So 2/3 reduces to it's already reduced, but I'll put 8/12. Remember how you say that with the TH on it. And then you hit enter to reduce it, and it reduces back to 2/3. So are they equal? Yep, they are. So you could reduce them and see if that works. And then the last way to do it is the cross products, which is what they're asking us to do here. Cross products are super easy. And if you can just remember to use it, that's the thing, you have a lot to remember. Cross products, I know there's a circle there from the light, but I want to show you this on the calculator. So cross products, you just connect. I ask you to go ahead and draw the arrow. So 2 times 12, put that on the calculator if you don't know it, 24. 8 times 3, 24. Now I'm not doing which one is bigger because it does matter which way the arrows, which way you multiply. I'm just asking you if they're equal. Did you get the same number? Yes. So they are the same. So I checked it with decimals, I checked it with reducing, and I checked it with the cross products. And then with the decimals, you've got all of these things. You can change your fraction to decimals. You could divide your top number divided by, you've got 3 ways to do that. Top number divided by the bottom number. You got the double arrow, or you got that F to D button with the second key. All right, so let's just do 1 or 2 together, and then you can go on and work these out. They're very easy, and it won't take you but a second to work them. I'm just going to work number 2 on this page. So you got 4/7, that's 4/7 with the TH, and 8/14. Multiply, multiply. Get your calculator out and just work it, it's fine. So don't worry about it. Put your number down, and then 8 times 7, and are those numbers the same? And so yes, those are equivalent fractions. That's all they want you to do there. It's very simple.